I'm Mickey Coffino, and welcome back to my channel. Hi, I'm Mickey Coffino, and I live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm a serial entrepreneur with a multitude of businesses in all types of dynamics. Today, I brought some of the industry best to come along to talk about what we're doing, why we feel putting your money into real estate funds and having the ability to have your money work while you're sleeping. I've got one of the best real estate agents in Charlotte. He's had a 20-year experience run. I'll let him share about his story and his bio. And I've got Gillian with me, my girl. She's going to share about her story a little bit, and hopefully we can give you some nuggets to take back with you to be able to see why it's important to have your money work while you're sleeping.
My name is Mark McClaskey, and I am a real estate agent. I've been in the Charlotte area since 2006 and got my real estate license in 2009, which wasn't always great timing, in my opinion. There was a lot of stuff going on at that time. But what was funny when I got my license is that, at that time, and we were just talking about this, there was a lot of short sales, there was a lot of foreclosures, and people were losing value. But the funny thing is over all these years, you've seen the appreciation of real estate and different ways that you can make money with real estate. So, investments always come up and down, but I've always felt like real estate's a safe investment. There's always risks involved, but it's, seeing the appreciation that we've seen in the last 3 years, and I don't see it going down anytime soon either. So, people always ask me, is it going to crash again? Are we going to have one of these financial crashes? And I don't know about a financial crash, but I don't see real estate tanking and doing what it did before back in 2009. I think it's, a stable environment.
My name is Gillian Giorgio. Everyone else calls me Gigi. I've been in the financial industry for 15 years. I got into the industry because I felt like people had a huge lack of financial education, which hindered every area of their lives. And what I found was over time, the more that people educated themselves about their money, the better life they had the opportunity to have. What I found after all of this time in the industry is that you have to have a diverse portfolio of many different types of investments. Real estate is a huge part of that. Tangible assets that continue to pay income to you, potentially for life. That whole idea is to be able to garner an asset, hold on to it, let it create some income for you now, let it create some income for you in the future, which evidently really leads to long-term accumulation of wealth. And so that's why we partner together to give everyone an opportunity to put in their money, throw their hat in the ring, and start owning a piece of something so that they can create wealth for themselves now and also for generations to come.
Hey guys, I don't know if you've had this experience, but a lot of my friends have said the reason they haven't purchased real estate is they didn't have the money. They didn't have capital. And I said, but there's other ways that you can diversify your portfolio by getting into with people that have a strong knowledge and education in the platform that you want to get into, such as real estate fund, which is what we're getting ready to do, that you take and you buy in the right areas that have residual income earning potential, and you get with a group. That's how BlackRock, that's how a lot of other groups that have formed monies and bought real estate portfolios get with people that want to make money while you sleep. Gigi, what's been your experience with your friends that you've worked with, why they haven't gotten into real estate growing products?
I think a lot of my friends haven't had the opportunity to invest the way that they might see themselves doing it. And there's a few barriers of entry. One is they might not be able to qualify for a loan for their property, for what they want to be able to do. It's too expensive. oftentimes it's a lot of times it's mindset. Oh, I don't have enough money in order to be able to do
Oh
that.
my gosh, don't we all say that?
There's never enough.
And you know what? We never, ever really have enough.
No, no, absolutely not. But the interesting thing is that I always tell people there's always OPM, right? Which is other people's money. So if you can find a way to partner with other people to be able to pool together assets and create a larger asset that can pay residually to all.
But
of the
doesn't that
investors.
also go on their, like when they do a personal financial net worth statement?
Yeah.
Doesn't their investment show as a holding in real estate
Yeah,
on their
absolutely.
net worth statement?
Absolutely. It has, that percentage of whatever asset they own or they have ownership within goes on their book. So they can put that in the asset, in the asset column and start to really start creating your own personal financial statement that starts to grow and get better and better. And so looking at what those barriers of entry are and then taking an active step at making those smaller and smaller based on the context that you have and talking to more and more people and getting educated, that's how one can create more wealth.
Well, one thing Mark had shared with me, I think you told me, Mark, on a lot of times you're buying like big condominium complexes, buildings that have a lot of income producing assets to it. It takes the real estate agent to look at that market space for demographics, interest earning, also rent bearing, and is there a potential for growth? Have you seen, as you have grown in this industry, the importance of buying the asset in the right market space and the right time?
Well, yeah, I mean, the old saying is you make your money on real estate when you buy it, right? So when you buy that property, you have to buy it right.
So you don't buy a boat and then lose money.
Well, a boat's a whole other thing. The two best days of a boat owner's life's the day you buy it and the day you sell it.
The day you sell
You
it. Oh my God.
I guess it could be that way if you're investing in real estate and you buy it right. And then when you sell it right, you make a lot of money. I mean, there's a lot of risks that go into it. And I think it goes back to what you were saying. A lot of times it's, if you don't know a lot about real estate, it's a scary adventure, right? I mean, anything that you're investing in that you might not have a lot of knowledge about is a risk. It's scary. And I think
money.
it's money,
Yeah.
right? And I think having real estate professionals in place that can identify the properties, that's a big part of the
Play.
equation.
Big play.
Because you want to, it's all about location.
Location.
So, but that doesn't
And
necessarily.
rentability. Because I think a lot of
Right.
people, when they buy,
Yeah.
and I'm sure Gigi can attest to this, you can attest to this. If you buy something in an area that's not conducive to want to have people come to, it's hard to rent the building.
Totally. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like a metropolitan area. I mean, these are areas that are good for high rent. There's ways to make money in real estate in multiple ways. And we were just talking earlier about, some of the outlying areas sometimes.
Yes.
If the central metro area is got a cap rate that's, 12%, you go sometimes to some of these outlying areas that aren't necessarily, income producing for rent, you can actually see a lot of appreciation because those points of entry are smaller.
So I want to share with everybody, because somebody asked me this and you're really good about describing it. Cap rate. What does that mean for people who are listening? What does it mean?
Well, I guess the simplest way to explain it, and you could probably help explain it a little
Yeah,
bit,
Gigi.
but it's based on a mathematical equation on what you get back from your investment, right? So if you're going to put X amount of dollars into the purchase, how much are you going to make back on the rent after your hard costs, after, homeowners association costs or cap, commercial property
Right.
costs. So that's kind of what it is, I guess, is the
What would
dumbed
you
down
say?
version of it.
Let's make it real layman for,
Well,
because I have people ask me, they're like, I don't understand cap rate. What does that mean,
look,
Mickey?
in the financial industry, cap rate is the most that you're going to make. Let's, call it really, really simple. And so when you look at the most that, in this case, the financial company is going to give you, but based on what we're talking about, your investments, you have this expense, you have that expense. So it's that wiggle room between what is the most that you could make and what you're actually going to make.
True. Well, I know for everybody that writes to me and writes to you and writes to you, I want to own real estate. We all want something tangible that makes money while we sleep.
Absolutely.
So I think when people come to me and they said, Mickey, I want to be a multimillionaire like you. How do I reach that high net worth? And I said, surround yourself with great, knowledgeable people that have a group with the same motivation, incentive, as well as education. That's where the hats come in. And I'm really going to stress this for a lot of people listening today. Everybody's got a hat. Make sure it fits right. Make sure it works right, looks right for where your goals are. And Mark, I think you told me the other day, a lot of people don't know their real estate goals. So that's where the group comes together to identify where the buildings are, what they can do production wise, financially. What's been your experience with people who come together in a group to, as you said, having other people's money that can make the best investments for you?
Well, I think it comes down to, there's strength in numbers, right? So, you can get a bigger piece of that pie with a lower risk investment. So if you don't have a lot of money to put in, which a lot of times that's the case, just putting little pieces in can help you get that bigger piece of that pie. Because
So
I've seen,
quit buying a whole pie and put the money in your investments so it makes money while you sleep.
that's right. Well, it's all about residual money, right?
There you go.
That's what everybody wants. And you can do that with a lot of different investments. I being the real estate agent, and of course I'm subjective to real estate because that's what I know and I understand. But, I've seen a lot of people become, like you were talking about, multimillionaires, not by their trade. I've got a good friend that's a plumber and he's worth $7 or $8 million, but he didn't do it just by plumbing, even though plumbers make good money because
Correct.
what they do for a living, most people don't want to do, but he built his portfolio in real estate. And he has REITs. He's invested in real estate investment trusts and, and he's done stuff on
So
his
he's
own.
diversified.
He's diversified.
His money.
Yes. He's got rentals. He also has
Rentals.
He also has REIT.
Key. Rentals. People
Yeah.
don't realize that. Now, I've had a lot of people say to me, well, why would I come in with a group? And I think you shared with me in investment portfolios when you're making an analysis, when you have it just on your own, it's not that it's bad, but if you only buy it by yourself, you are taking the whole burden.
You take all the risk.
All the risk.
You have all the work.
Yep.
And it's a lot of hours, time, investment, and not always with the rate of return. Where with a big group, everybody's gonna make that analysis. So everybody has an opportunity to win. Because when you've got 30 people that want to win, they're gonna fight for that big, huge piece to win on the money.
Absolutely.
So what's been your experience with people who did it? Just why would I come with a group? Just find a single home doing all the work versus people when they got into a group. What's been your experience in their portfolios?
In my experience, when it becomes a weighing part of their portfolio because there's a lot of energy and effort and attention that has to go into it, which makes other areas of their portfolio suffer. So we all want to invest in things that we understand really well, but do we all have the time to research every single fund out there, every single property, every single,
Research.
we're so limited on time that we have to utilize the experience of management teams, people who have long-term vetting in the industry to be able to help us leapfrog a little bit more to help us with the research. So you have to do your due diligence no matter what. There's always risks, but when you're utilizing some of the expertise or even just the experience of other individuals who had a long-term time in that industry, it makes it so much easier because when you're taking on all the risk, you've got to do all the due diligence, you've got to do all the research. It's very challenging, especially if you're raising a family, you have another job, you have all of these other things that you need to do.
Family member.
I'm a mom. My schedule is not my own. So,
I thought that your kids were running around taking care of.
Oh my goodness. Some days.
And Mark knows.
I know now. Yes, I do.
So for people who listen, whether you have kids or you don't, I was a single mom of triplets. So my time was extremely managed. And I think that's why we kind of came together as a group and we've got other partners in this fund because we wanted to make generational wealth for people while they were sleeping with a minimalistic investment and to have a huge portfolio to get a brilliant ROI.
Yeah.
And that really says something about a team.
Mhm.
And hopefully people that come and watch what we're talking about understand what that means as assimilating a great real estate agent, somebody that understands the investment portfolio. We've put together a pretty good group of people together to make people have money while they're sleeping.
I agree.
You know, Jillian, Gigi, Mark, a lot of people have really been talking about the volatility in the market and what is happening in their trusts,
Mhm.
in their portfolio of stocks, their 401ks. What's been your experience as a veteran with people diversifying their portfolio when they see the market taking this big of a shift? How have you been able to help advise your clients to move that lens or move that needle to go into real estate or other diversities?
Great question. So everything is cyclical. So any type of investment, real estate, tangible asset, gold, mutual funds, anything in the market, it's all cyclical. So the thing is that the timing, these waves and crests, it goes up and down. And so the idea is that the more that you can participate in multiple pieces of the puzzle, you will be able to capitalize because everything is not going to hit all at the same time. They're not all going to make money. All your investments are not going to make money at the same time. So the key is when you're sitting down, first of all, you should sit with someone who has some experience, who can guide you on what to do, and then listen to them, listen to their advice, which is diversify your portfolio and put in investments, have an emergency fund, go in real estate, maybe get some tangible assets. You have to decide what's best for you, but you also need to make sure that you're making use of as many different types of investments that can grow your wealth long term. So that's the most important thing. My experience is as I've advised people to take different choices and make different choices of where they put their money, those are the people long term that are in a much better position when one area of the market tanks, real estate has some challenges. They all have their risks. But when you're diversified, you may feel a little bit of a drop, but you're not going to lose everything.
One thing that it's funny you should mention this market being challenging, banks, lending.
Mhm.
What's been your experience, Mark, with people trying to get home loans?
Well, I mean, the banks are kind of tightening up right now. They're not lending money like they were. So, getting a home loan's not as easy as it was. And
Speaking of getting a home loan, I heard that you're talking about penalizing people with a credit
Oh.
score that's above 750.
yeah, that's
Just came out.
first time in history. That now that if your credit score, I think it's if you're 780 or over 800, 780 and up, you're going to be paying more for your interest rate.
So all that hard work, all the money that I've
the
given
benefit.
Experian, Equifax to
Yeah.
get that credit score up, now I'm going to get
You're going to get penalized.
Really?
Well, I think the idea was to help people who are debt ridden. So there's a little bit of a bump for people that have their credit scores from like 680 to 740. If you're below the 680, you're going to pay a little bit more. But the irony is you're going to pay less than the people who are in the 800 range. It's
So that middle range
the middle range.
really is, it's that middle
Yeah.
class.
It's the middle class. Maybe they're trying to help the middle class for once. But, it's
a
like,
little bit.
Yeah.
But I think the challenge is if banks aren't lending to buy real estate, this is where coming into another group with people together
Right.
to attain and accumulate more real estate
Mhm.
to have again money while they're sleeping,
Yep.
which is what I've always said is a big piece in the puzzle. One of the girlfriends of mine, we were talking about this, I'm in the hair business. I love Louis Vuitton. I love Prada. I love my Christian Louboutins. But if you had a chance to spend that money in something that made you money, wouldn't it be a lot wiser than you see it in portfolio?
Appreciating assets, things that are going to actually gain value over time and can continue, whether you sell them in the future, can continue to make you money or grow your portfolio, grow the size and value of your portfolio. Because, buying a car is wonderful if it appreciates, but buying property or being involved in a place where property can grow in value and create income, that's going to win long term over something that is going to depreciate. A purse is wonderful and a status symbol, but it's not going to make you money in the long run.
And no, one of the influencers was on and they were showing a Bugatti and they were showing their McLaren and their Rolls, which I'm quite the car whore. I love it. But I made sure that I had my portfolio in place before I acquired assets like that. So I think it's good to have goals and write them down and dream them, but get that money right before you start going after those types of assets.
A little bit of sacrifice now pays off later.
Oh my gosh, does that mean I have to sacrifice? What? What am I sacrificing here?
There's always some sacrifice.
Yeah,
There
there is.
be something.
But we definitely want
maybe
generational
time.
wealth for those children.
That's the key. That's
You know,
the key.
our parents, everybody has. I had a girlfriend, and I don't know if anybody else but watches my channel or participates with us. She and one of her family members passed on, and she inherited $160,000. I said, "Oh my gosh, what'd you do with it?" People find that when they get this 160,000, 50,000 windfall, they pay off their debts as opposed to using that money to make money to pay off the debts. So
Can I speak to that?
to that, because
Okay.
we've been talking about this a lot.
Okay. So I don't know how familiar people out there are with the concept of buy, borrow, die. Okay. Because a lot of times what happens is that people will buy, they'll invest, they'll buy an asset, they hope it grows in value. But what makes a lot of sense and what you will find is that very wealthy people do this. They buy an asset and then they borrow against it. They leverage out the money and then they don't have to pay taxes because it's a loan. And so then they may buy another appreciating asset
Yep.
with the money that they borrow. So the whole concept is if you can find assets that you can leverage against, utilize your debt to your advantage to create more wealth for yourself. Now, you need someone who's experienced. You need somebody to advise you on how to do this. Don't just go out and decide that you can, buy some, miscellaneous asset and it's gonna solve all the problems for you. But there are ways to be able to take 160 grand, turn it into something that you can leverage out maybe multiple times over to get you in a position that you can gain more income.
And making money with that money.
Absolutely.
Every single time I've spoke to people like, I got that money, so I just paid off my credit card debt.
Mm.
I'm like, wait a minute. What's going to happen 6 months down the road with that credit card again? They're like, what do you mean? I go, you're going to use it again. But so now you paid off a credit card debt with no income producing asset.
Exactly.
And that always surprised me. And how much do you make on your rental properties, Mark? Would you say? Because a lot of people don't realize how much money you can make a month on your rental property.
Well, it's funny because I had a very wealthy real estate agent a long time ago tell me, I was having a conversation. I said, I'm flipping at my first house. This was a long time ago. I'm flipping my first house. And he said, man, you need to get out of that flipping game. He goes, if you want long-term real money, put it in real estate and earn money on rent, not flipping.
Not flipping.
There's a lot of cool shows on TV. Flip this, flipping. You can make some big windfalls. There's a lot. Sometimes
There's a lot of rent.
I've also seen a lot of people lose a lot of money on flipping.
Yep. Well, I think my friend said construction costs now in America are over $400 a square foot.
Depends on where you are, but yeah, I mean, new construction costs like in a top 25 city, like Charlotte's now top 15, top 10.
Yep.
But your minimum just to build new construction is $250 to $350 a square foot.
Yeah, I think my client said hers was 400 square foot.
Yeah, and that's if you start getting into some better tiers.
Yeah, she's at a $2 million home. So I think if you're looking at that kind of growth pattern, that's what you have to look at is how you're spending that money. So every time I've had extra cash flow, I've invested it to get money to make money. So if you don't have mentors, people around you that have the best interest for you, because this is my best saying, at the end of the day, it's how people will treat you. And you want people around you that have your best interest to make money while you're sleeping.
Absolutely.